Good morning. Hello.
Hello.
I guess we
Hello.
probably should say something since it's so prominent in the logo there. But yeah, I guess for folks that haven't heard, so Techie Gurus is actually going away. The site is being shut down, but this show continues. It'll just be independent as we've been doing, and we'll just keep going. But
Can't stop governance.
no, you cannot stop it. It's a freight train. Always. Also, apologies, folks, but Sharon will not be with us. That was kind of a late night surprise, but yeah, she had an injury to her eye, and she's okay. It's for what I hear. No loss of sight that I've heard. Yeah,
now there's going to be rumors.
That's
Sharon, get well soon. If you hear us now or later, get well soon.
And honestly, I only heard from Jonathan, not from Sharon.
So,
but yeah, apparently she has like a black eye and wasn't camera ready to do this. So hopefully, Sharon, you're okay out there. And we'll definitely have her back. But the show must go on
because you can't stop governance.
No, you cannot.
That's my new tagline.
We are completely unstoppable.
Yes.
Thing is, I changed my job and I'm still working every single day around governance topics.
Yeah, can't escape it. It's too important.
Well, that is the thing about this. So for folks that are brand new to this, the Guardians of M365 Governance, we are talking about anything and everything governance related. Of course, that's across all products. We all come from the collaboration stack, but we're very much involved across the Microsoft various solutions that are out there. In fact, that's always I don't know how user groups are in your areas, but there's like the struggle now where what was started 14, 15 years ago as the SharePoint user group was then expanded into kind of all things collaboration and the social things with Yammer Now Engage. There's the Power Platform stuff. We talk about a lot of Azure topics, occasionally Windows related things, now a lot of AI, a lot of interest there. And so we changed our name here locally to the Microsoft User Group Utah, which is the lovely acronym MUGGET.
You need to find a marketing person on that one.
Well, that was intentional because of it was an available hashtag that it's very ugly hashtag, but was there. But yeah, but governance is one of those topics. I mean, it just permeates other subject matter. So I thought it would be great just to continue talking about this. And maybe what's your how have you leveraged, ask this question to both of you, the Microsoft 365 maturity model?
We're going to be so polite. Ragnar, go first.
Yes. So it's a model which I'm aware of, but I'm not using it every single day. I'm not using it every single week or month. So that's something which hasn't made it into my daily list of go-to stuff which I use for my customer workshops. So and then the sad thing is sometimes I see improvements. They're adding Copilot. So I'm aware about the changes and the releases. So I see progress and people are working there, but it hasn't made it into my daily consulting work. This needs to be changed. So thanks, Christian, here for bringing up the topics. I'm reconsidering to add it to my consultancy practices.
Well, enjoy. I mean, have you been able to leverage it? Has this been something that's been part of your consulting career?
It's interesting pieces of it, I would say. Have I ever formally done an engagement in my previous consulting life? Okay, we are now going to implement the Microsoft 365 maturity model. No, but if you think about it, the whole point of this is to put a scaffold around the process to stop being, we have a problem, react. We have a problem, react. Oh no, this happened. Let's go fix it. To saying, we have had these issues happen before. These are the risks in our industry with the type of data we work with. So let's put these things in place. So having those conversations, absolutely. Hey, we need to make sure that we're not typing social security numbers in Teams chat, or sending, specific types of information through email. So let's talk about DLP policies, data loss prevention.
Well, I think what it's great for is exactly those pieces to especially if your experience is over on more like adoption, like how to get people more using this, and suddenly you find yourself in a role where you're responsible for more of the back end, the compliance and security aspects of the environment, and you're like, where do I even start? What are we actually doing? What's powerful about using this, and I think both of you kind of said the same thing. It's like you're not leveraging like the whole model as it stands, and I don't think that's really the intention. And apologies for folks out there that are like, no, it's everything. No,
If Sharon shows up in chat, we'll know you were wrong.
right. But it's having the creating a baseline for where are we as an organization, and so what's and we all know this, that like you can't go and solve a problem if you've not defined the problem.
Yes.
And what the maturity model does at its core is to help create that baseline of where is my organization. You already know where the gaps are. Well, some of them are of that there's things that you're falling behind on. We need to go and strengthen our policies. We need to go in certain areas. We're having problems like search is not claimed, and especially search, if search is not working well, then that's going to impact your ability to adopt AI and Copilot stuff. So and so understanding where your organization is and the next steps to be able to go in and look at across this framework, these industry standards, here's for us to get to the next level, here's the things that we need to achieve. And so that's really the goal. If you go search for it, and I've got it obviously up on screen in front of everybody. And I was going to zoom down to the end to show you like why we're going to talk with Sharon. So Sharon's actually part of the core team that is organizing this open source effort to go and pull this together. What's great about this, if you're new to the maturity models, is just go and search for M365 maturity model. You'll find this content. And so you see it's nonpartisan. It's not specifically pointing you towards any tools or solutions. It identifies the key competencies and areas. And so we're specifically going to talk, we're talking about the governance, risk, and compliance, but you have these other areas, all of which you can go in there. If you're looking to do a deep dive into and create a baseline across each of these areas, this will help you do that.
And I was wrong, by the way. I have to correct myself. I just said that the latest edition was Copilot, but the latest edition was Employee Experience. So they have introduced Viva in end of May this year. So that's the latest module here on the maturity model.
Right. Yeah, because again, this is a community-driven effort. Microsoft is just like all the open source efforts. I mean, they're kind of guiding the path. But this goes back to the original work, and it was done by an outside consultant. The original model for the SharePoint maturity model, done by Sadie Van Buren. I'm now Sadie Gilronan. So a friend of the community and out there, and went to work for Microsoft, and I think is elsewhere now. But so just carrying on that work is in fact about 2014, 2015. I worked with our guest next month, in fact, is going to be Melinda Morales with Dyson in the UK. She and I developed the SharePoint governance maturity model. So back in 2015, is that right? 2015? I don't know. Time,
Do the numbers.
Doesn't it mean as much as it does now? So,
No, doesn't.
Yeah.
Time is overrated.
I think one thing that's really powerful about this maturity model is, yes, it is for Microsoft 365. But as you read in and start scanning too, how many of our organizations only use Microsoft tools? I know that sounds like blasphemy, but if you have sensitive data in other areas, these concepts and principles can absolutely be implemented across your technology stack. So if you have other elements, different CRMs or whatever the case may be, having this groundwork laid and building the scaffolding around your governance, your compliance, doing risk assessments, all of that training, ensure everyone's competent to use these tools and adhere to the technologies. It can serve you well. And we'll talk as we go through. I know about like the specific M365 tooling that's available for the platform, but just keep an open mind too. So if you have a very technology stack, this is still a good conversation to have for that.
Well, I always say that, having some kind of framework, having some kind of methodology that you're following is better than having none. Because at least then, I mean, you have the things that you are an expert on, the things that you're familiar with. Again, in my example of, being the adoption person, that's suddenly being responsible for compliance and security of the system. I'm not going to know which questions to ask. I'm not going to know the level of detail and where to find the information about my system. And so having the framework prompts you to go, as well as to know to better evaluate where you are and where you should be, because so I have used that as a consultant, as advisory services for companies when they've gone in. When you interview companies, and this is pretty consistent behavior, but when you interview companies, like, where are you? Like, what do you have in place around governance? You get a very overly positive view of what the organization is doing. Because a lot of people, like, we insert our bias into that. We assume, like, I think I've heard something, but like, I'm pretty sure we're doing that. It's like, yeah, no. If it cannot be verified 100%, that it's likely not happening. So, but again, it lets you know then, okay, here's really where we are. And that's part of a gap analysis that, as a consultant to do, is that where the perceptions of where they are. Then when you go in and do the discovery as a consultant, you look at things and come back and show them, actually, you're at a level 2, not a level 3. Here's what you need to work on. You've got some of these pieces, but you're not competent at this level yet. Again, that will help inform, okay, what do we need to go do next?
100%. And so I used to be a Jeep owner. Sad to say I don't own a Wrangler anymore. But when something breaks on a Jeep, it's called an opportunity, because you upgrade it and you get to go do stuff. Yeah, you got to spend money, but that's a plus side. When you do these gap analysis, it can feel, depending on what the level of maturity is in a particular organization, it can feel kind of like defeat. When you first start, it's like the first time you define a workflow and you realize, oh, we have no good process. That's an opportunity for improvement. So is those gap analysis starting, like, where are we today? What is our baseline? That is nothing but an opportunity to go, okay, now we know where we need to focus our attention, where we need to drive awareness. And you can really start making valuable steps just from finding out where are the gaps and where's the process broken.
Fully agree, Joy. It's all about focusing, and it also helps us to shape and to scope the conversation, because otherwise, if we would shout out and send 100 different questions to the customer, we would overwhelm, because the amount of questions would be overwhelming. Some questions are maybe too easy, too superficial. Other questions would be too difficult, and so it definitely makes sense here to go into this 5 different steps and 5 different maturity levels, and then we can ask the complexity of the level, fully independent on the stage. And then it's better aligned to the stage. Otherwise, it's just too many questions, and customers say, listen, please stop asking these 100 questions. It's just too much.
Well, again, that's where, and that is usually identified when there's difficult questions around that. I mean, going into an organization that is tuned in on their policies is now looking at automating a lot of those things. So they've got this solid framework in. They're like, I would put it like right in the middle. They're right. They're at that 300 level, but they're looking to go for some industry standards. I don't know, like SOX compliance, and so they're documenting more. They're so they're going through that rigor, but my point here is that you need to be honest about where you are. Otherwise, you will have an inaccurate design for moving forward.
Yeah.
So there's no judgment call being it. There's the reality is that in some of these categories, you're going to be solidly within the 100 level, in all likelihood. And so it's
And
it's not about judgment.
no, and the other value is we always have the interest to position ourselves as a trusted advisor to the customer, and to be a trusted advisor, we need to show leadership skills and competences. We can guide them, and then if we know the path, how to move from 100 to 500 or whatever the maturity level is called, then we can show the customers that we know, that we understand the journey, we know the different phases. It's like a mountain journey. Yes, we know the mountain is very high. Maybe we need like 5 days, but we split the 5 days journey into small day trips, which are capable. You can do it. There are nice rests, nice sleeps, places where you can sleep overnight, and it's not overwhelming. So you can do it. It's just a 5 days mountain tour.
It's been interesting working at a company that one of our key features is archiving. Well, to do certain types of archiving, you have to be able to delete things. Now, as a consultant, I would talk to companies, and I had a handful of customers that I would run into that would put a blanket no delete, which, no offense, but that's a pretty sure sign of a lack of maturity in that area, because we're not sure what needs to stay, what should hang around. We're terrified somebody's going to delete something, which speaks to competency. No offense, but it's true. So nobody can delete anything. We just keep everything forever because that feels safe.
Well, I'll just play devil's advocate too. From a, formerly working for migration software companies, and there was a reason why we didn't enable the delete within that. And that was the risk aspect of that, if I want to complete the migration, I want it to then to automatically delete what I just migrated from the old because it's in the new. It's like, okay, no, we're not going to put that in the tool and then be responsible for a mess up there. So I understand like that specific thing. Like you want to have a maturity of allowing people that have the right permission level to be able to go and do those things. But obviously you want to maybe have that at the admin level, not every owner of a site or a team to be able to go and do that.
Right. Because it depends on the content and the regulations. I have a customer at my current company that I've been working with. We've made some really good progress there, but they had no idea to start with of how long should certain content be retained, what should be deleted. And we were talking once, it was just one-on-one with my point of contact. And I said, well, though, you've got people in your legal department that are having nightmares because some things just need to be deleted. But there hadn't been that opportunity to have that conversation. There are people you can talk to in your organization with certain things, like where do we start? What is our baseline? If you have a compliance department, if you're in a particularly like regulated industry, there are resources out there. Go find those baselines, and that can start pointing you in the direction you need to go. Call your legal department if you're larger, you have one, or a trusted legal advisor for your organization. Find out where to start, and you can start really making great strides just in documenting and having those conversations.
Well,
and they always appreciate when they are, when you ask them, they're part of the process. They appreciate it.
And that's why I'm kind of highlighted here, the way that these are structured too, the people and culture, understanding the roles and responsibilities, making sure that you have like leadership buy-in of the governance. And a big part of that, it's not just understanding like, who do I go to for questions? Who owns these policies? Who are the decision makers around, each of these pieces of our overall, governance strategy? But you don't want to overwhelm people with the bureaucracy of that's not what this is about. You remember people have to use the platforms, use the technology. They need to be using the Microsoft 365 stack and the tools within it. If they're so overly burdened with policies and rules and they can't get work done, that's where they then start going around the system. They start then using an untrusted, unverified, unsupported cloud collaboration tool
Mhm.
because they can't get their work done. But I love the structure of this. Again, the high level, you've got the people and culture. That's an important aspect of this. You might be up to date on the technology, have all the latest tools, but your people might not be trained on it, ready for it, trained on that. You
Or
might not
aware
have
of
a
them.
process in place.
It's it's not uncommon to hit an organization when you're a consultant and you're like, well, why do you want Dropbox? Well, I need a place where I can do this. It was like, use your OneDrive. My what?
Right.
Ah,
Well, that's so much of this too, is just it's education on what's there, and
yeah.
people, don't understand that, hey, that capability is out there. And it may have been, we all bring our institutional knowledge from the past job, and it's like, well, that was locked down and we couldn't do that. And
Mhm.
like I get it. And then there's the other side of that. Like, I've worked at a couple organizations where all external sharing, file sharing, was turned off. And so what people did was they put all that in emails,
Yep.
or they went and used Box or Dropbox or some other third-party tool and broke all the rules. And so then, when IT doesn't understand how people need to work and they
Mhm.
don't listen, they said, here's the policies and the rules. The reality is people are going to go get their work done. They're just not going to do it in the way that you expect or want.
Yeah. And that's when it's important to have those trust building exercises, right? Where IT listens to the business and the business is honest with IT about this is what we need to be able to do our jobs, and we need the tools that can support it.
Yeah.
And not every business person is ready, willing, wants to go have a technical conversation, but there are some that do. So identifying those roles in your business units, in your organization, that's that liaison to IT, and vice versa. Oh, that will take you leaps and bounds for identifying how things need to work and how you can utilize the tooling inside of Microsoft 365 to support the governance, the compliance, and all that good stuff.
And one thing, Joy, which is very important for me, is also talk with the customer about the mindset of governance. Because then, if you talk, for example, with the end user who want Box, Dropbox, Google Drive, and not OneDrive, then you explain them the value, why governance is important, why security matters, why compliance is a value. Because if they understand the value, then they understand also why the company is offering a suite like M65, and they're not purchasing like 20 different best of breed solutions, because then governance and compliance and security would be super difficult if you would purchase singular products which are not integrated, not embedded, because then the whole story about GCR here would be a nightmare. So the
It's true.
value of the suite is not only the end user experience, that everything is integrated, governance and security and compliance is just so much easier because of this integration story.
Yeah.
And then I think then when I talk to the clients and the end user about these values, why the security, governance and compliance matters, then they understand why we give them OneDrive and not, as I mentioned, Box, Dropbox, Google Drive.
So have you guys experienced how to incorporate healthy governance into the culture of an organization? Like I worked in a past company where they had monetary rewards, other special deals going on for people that identified bugs or that created a workflow, or other ways of improving the system. And so they kind of use gamification to encourage people, and it became part of the culture. They know that if I go in above and beyond, if I think of an innovative way to even add on to something that somebody else did, I could get something else out of it. And the cash price didn't matter. It was like a Starbucks card for $5 or $10 or whatever. Sometimes it was bigger. I mean, they did gold star awards, other things. And I know a number of companies do that, where it might be like $1,000. It might be pretty substantial for that innovation. Have you guys experienced anything like that to try and get people thinking about governance and how to continuously improve?
We actually have conversations at Orchestra about ways that we could do gamification for like our insiders groups and things like that. When I was consulting, I would recommend that to customers all the time. Number one, make it fun. Governance doesn't have to be this word you say and people go, oh no, and they're like dreading this burden that's going to fall on them.
It's called the G word. Oh, they use the G word. Yeah.
So what's in it for me as a user? Grab that wish list. What's hard for you to do today, or you're not allowed to do because there's not security in place? Like, what? Find out, and then if IT comes up with an innovative way that makes that easier for you, now as an end user, I'm excited. Oh, I'm going to save 10 minutes. Now I don't have to go around the world and back again. Or I brought an issue, IT was able to solve it, and now we get Starbucks. Okay.
Yeah.
Badges, I know we don't need no stinking badges, but doing like badges and games and recognition, heck yeah. Our human egos love that stuff.
Yeah.
What I always love to do is to talk in everyday language. So for me, governance is also like cleaning your apartment, cleaning your house, because most of the people, there are only a few people who don't like cleaning up things. If you live in a house which is cleaned up, where you always can find things, it's clean, it's nice. You find things earlier. You don't need to search for your car keys like 20 minutes because it's always at the same place, and it's just so much better in life if you can easily find things and they're not dirty. And this is also the value of governance. And if you have 5 of the same books, just give 4 books to your friends, and because 1 book is just fine. So I talk in this everyday language to make sure that we need to tidy up things, because governance in M365 is the same like in your house, in your apartment. It's always, dust is always coming down, and you have to clean, because even if you're on vacation, dust will be there. You have to to clean. And that's also with the tenant. Automatically, it's getting a little bit dirty. Group sprawl everywhere, duplicates, and then too many versions, too much usage of storage, and then the storage quota is exceeding. The IT has to buy more quota from Microsoft. It's getting more expensive. So I just talk in this everyday language things which we experience in our homes.
Yeah.
And that usually works fine, because everybody has this kind of cleaning up experience.
And we can all relate to that. Jay Leask and I, when we present on information management and teams, we've got a slide. It's the kid bowling with the guardrails up. Right? So you could, or we call it like a fence, put a fence around the backyard, right? So as a user, I can just go out there and do my thing, and I can have fun. I hope it's fun. I could do all these things, but the security is in place. The guardrails are going to, like, it, hopefully, depending on how an aggressive bowler you are, especially Christian with like speed bowling, hopefully they'll keep the bowling ball in the lane and get it down to the end.
Yep. I have to say that I still, my title stands for speed bowling. Ragnar, you missed out on that. So it's just where you throw it as hard as possible. And anyway, we had a bowling
lane. Let the pins
bowling
fall where they may.
It timed them. Doesn't matter if you hit, you got to hit something. But anyway. Well, I know, just to wrap up here, I mean, one of the takeaways from this is that you need to put governance in what you're doing to make lasting cultural change. It has to be in definitions that people understand. You have to put it into the way that the organization works, so that people understand, hey, this is what we're trying to do. This is what it actually means. If you have a goal, if you're looking for an industry standard of compliance, something that you're chasing like ISO, that's fine. SOX, whatever, have that out there, but to have the baseline, leverage the maturity model to understand, like, here are the steps that we actually need to go and do. This is where we need to be. And then have a conversation of what can we do to get to this step? What needs to change? because people understand their domain, the space that they own. IT or somewhere central can't define every way in which change needs to happen. It needs to be more holistic. It needs to be done from the ground up. The people that own those areas, that own those processes, need to participate for that change to last. Otherwise, it's just a change. And as soon as nobody's looking, people slip back into the old way of doing things where they're comfortable.
I think you said from the ground up, which is very important because it's got to be built with that good foundation.
Yeah.
But leadership's going to play a big role for this too, making sure they also hold themselves accountable. They're following the rules, championing the efforts. That support from the top, visible support is huge to say, yeah, this is a change and it's different, but we're all for it. Even I am compliant on my mobile device because that's how we need to be, right? No special treatment.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for my co-host for the show, and again, Sharon, get better. Hope everything is going on well. We're going to try and get Sharon back in because I would love to get more of the inner workings of being part of the the organizing panel that runs it, that is oversight of this open source effort and how people can get involved. There are monthly meetings around the Microsoft 365 maturity model that are open to the public that you can get involved if you'd like to have more voice in that process. I'll share some links in the associated blog post for that, but we'll try and get her back again next month.
And I will add it to my consultancy practice, I promise.
There you go. But with next month we have, I'm sure this topic will come up with Melinda Morales from Dyson, talking about some of her experience of scaling governance within an enterprise, a global enterprise. So it'd be great to take some of those insights with her history with the maturity model as well. And then we'll have Sharon back in November, December. So with that, thank you all for joining, and great to see you, Ragnar and Joy.
Great to see you guys.
See you later.
Thank you.